All right, we are back once again. We are sitting in the cab of our next project, the soon-to-be new build, bare bones. We're gonna see the vision now. You might not see it. You might, I don't know. But we're gonna give you a sneak peek day one, see what pros and cons we have to work with, and how we are gonna adapt to them.
Of course, this is not going to be a long tour. There's not a lot to see, but we do want to give you a little walk around of the vehicle, show you what we're working with, give you some of the measurements that we're starting with. It's just an empty box van, and so right now we're picturing all that it could be in a few months at the end of this build. So I guess let's get out there and get started.
Let's get going.
Let's do it. First things first, the vehicle itself. This is actually on a Chevy 3500 chassis. One thing we noticed immediately is that it has a lot of clearance. We're actually always worried about this with vehicles that we purchase because we do like to go off-road. This thing has at least as much clearance as our Ford E450, if not maybe a little bit more. Of course, once we put a build and all of the weight into the back of the vehicle, the back will go down a little bit, but right now we're really happy with the clearance that it has.
Straight away, looking at this thing from the outside, you will see a major selling point for us, and that is a single piece fiberglass body. That means there's no seams to seal, no points of entry for water for us to have to deal with. On top of that, it's really aerodynamic and sleek, which looks good, and maybe it'll save us a little bit on fuel mileage. We will see. Right now, it just looks like a blank canvas in a work van, but by the time we get done with doors, windows, all that, it's gonna look really tough. It's gonna be really great. So let's go around and check out the back of the vehicle.
One big thing we know a lot of you will be wondering about is if we're going to keep this rolling garage door on the back of the vehicle. As of right now, we are planning on replacing it, and that's because it takes up ceiling space when it's open, and also it's just really drafty, and over time it will definitely leak. So we're planning on replacing it. We can't give you all the details for that yet, but the garage door is definitely going. There are so many options just for the back of this vehicle in general. We have the pull-out ramp, there's this huge opening, and that's one of the things that drew us to this vehicle specifically, was because of all these cool little features that it has.
Yeah, the thing that always makes builds interesting is taking advantage of the things it presents and working around what are perceived disadvantages. This one's got a lot of blank canvas aspect to it, which is exciting, but it does have some interesting features on the back end here that we could do something pretty cool with.
All right, let's move to the actual interior of the vehicle and give you a few measurements and an idea of what actually makes up the inside of this box van. As for the inside of the vehicle, as you can probably see on the ceiling, all of the internal framing is hat channel. Now, we encountered this last summer in the bus that we built, and in order to mount a full roof rack, cabinets to the walls, all kinds of things like that, we would just feel more comfortable beefing up the internal framing a bit. So that's going to be one of the first steps for us. Then the next thing is there's all this plywood on the wall, which was very nice of them because we are just going to reuse all of this for our walls. With the price of plywood, that's actually going to save us quite a bit of money.
Another one of the huge advantages of working in this box is just that. It is a box. We don't have to deal with curves, and it's a blank canvas. There are no windows, but we're going to put the windows in that we want, so it feels nice in here and there's lots of natural light. New process for us for sure, but I think it's going to be a lot easier than deleting all the extra windows that are in the shuttle bus.
Overall, I just think there's a lot of things in this vehicle that's going to be a time saver over the shuttle buses. like we said in the last video, there's no demo. There's no seats to take out, there's no panels, and just all the handles and everything that's inside of buses when you first buy them. So we're saving a little bit of time just right there. All we have to take off is these pieces of ply and start insulating.
No air conditioners to pull, no windows to reseal.
No air conditioners to remove, no giant splits that they always put in those shuttle buses. Pretty excited about that. So some measurements for you, because we get questions constantly about measurements of our buses. This vehicle is just a little bit longer than our personal shuttle bus. It's just over 23 feet. And then there's this kind of step bumper in the back that we'll probably remove that makes the vehicle longer. But the actual body itself is just over 23. Then the inside living space, the actual cargo area, not including the cab, is 14.1. But for Unicell, this is called a 15-foot box. So it's 15 exterior, 14.1 inside. The width inside is 8 feet exactly. You can set down one piece of plywood in here, which is pretty nice. You don't have to make any kind of funky cuts.
And the internal headroom, right now it's about 6'7". I suspect once the ceiling and floor are done, will be probably around 6'4"-ish. I'm closer than that, which is still really nice. And externally, I've measured it at 9 foot 10 inches currently. So once the rack's on there, it'll be just over 10 foot. A little taller, but still not too crazy. Another really nice thing here is a huge overcab space. It's much larger than it was in either of the last two buses we built. And the big thing is it's also empty. Those had air conditioners in there, weird framing, electrical panels that we had to work around that made the space kind of hard to utilize. So this is really exciting. It's a blank space. We can do whatever we choose with it.
Another thing that you may notice in here, we don't have any wheel wells. And this is the model that Unicell calls their raised floor, which means that they just built the framing and the pine flooring over top of the wheels completely. They have a low floor option, which would have given us a ridiculous amount of interior headroom. This is just the model that we can find. It's the one that we purchased. But I think not having to build over the wheel wells, insulate them, cover them, cut all our furniture and cabinetry around them will actually save a lot of time. And we're still going to be ending up with more headroom than we have in our current bus.
And of course, one fun feature we've never had before, a closable, lockable pass-through door that brings us right back to the cab. Pretty excited about this.
And that brings us right back into the cab where we started. Like we said, this was going to be a really quick little walk around tour, but it shows you exactly what we're starting with in this vehicle. We are going to get the build started right now. Right now, we're headed back to our workshop to clean it out after not being there all winter, and we're gonna jump right into this build.
That's right, we got a ton of work to do. We gotta get to it. I know there's probably one more big question. Is this build for us or are we selling it? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked, and I would love to know the answer as well. At this point, we're not really sure.
We will keep you updated and let you know as we figure it out, but regardless, one of the two vehicles is being sold at the end of the summer. Of course, it will be so difficult for us to put our own bus up for sale. That was the bus that started our entire channel, but the prospect of a new build, trying new things, that sounds really exciting because last summer we spent the whole summer, fall, and a little bit of the winter building that bus to sell. It would be really fun to do a new build just for us this time.
Yeah, and regardless of what path we go in the end, we are going to build this to the highest quality level that we're capable of. Maybe push that bar a little further this summer.
Always.
And I guess we'll just see what unfolds.
So let us know what you think. Should we move into the box van? Should we stay in our own bus? And we will be back next week with episode 1, the very first episode of the summer build series for the Unicell box van.
All right, see you guys later.